in order to have a better understanding of Ford's corporate social responsibility and their environmental impact. Throughout this presentation, I will analyze some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses, some of the opportunities, and some of the threats associated with Ford. I will also make a series of recommendations for Ford moving forward, how they can go about improving their sustainability plan and being more aware of their environmental impact. A brief summary of what this presentation will include. This presentation will help answer the question of what is Ford's environmental impact, what are their policies, how are they going about improving their awareness, what are they doing to use recycled materials, use alternate fuel vehicles, and meet the demands of the consumers with this green initiative. The first thing to be discussed is the strengths associated with Ford. Ford has a very strong brand recognition and brand loyalty. Ford is the first car manufacturer in the United States and has a very strong brand following. The brand itself is estimated to be worth over $12 billion, and Ford is a very well known company. Ford has an international presence, and the Ford logo is recognizable in many countries. Their research and development team is also seen as a strength within the organization. Ford does a tremendous job coming out with leading technology, leading technologies in cabin experience, with innovation for products such as using military grade aluminum alloy, increasing their towing capacity, their product line of EcoBoost vehicles, and this is something that Ford uses to their advantage in drawing in more customers. They also have a very diverse product selection and product line. They have products that meet the demographics of low to middle class to upper class and all sorts of other demographics in between. This I see as a strength because Ford can tweak these vehicles to make them more environmentally friendly, whether that be electric or hybrid. This gives Ford the flexibility to tweak these vehicles and reach a possible new market because they have so many products that could continue to make revenue for them if they were not to be accepted by the market. Some of the weaknesses that Ford faces is their quality concerns. Ford is seen by some consumers as a lower end product, not seen in the same tier as Tesla or Lexus in terms of quality or innovation, especially in the fuel efficiency and electric vehicles. This, paired with their reputation, Tesla, along with their CEO, is seen as a company who's pushing the envelope, kind of bleeding edge, coming out with these automation and increased battery life. Something that Ford is not seen as. Ford is seen as more of a working class vehicle, not seen as one to really be on the forefronts of innovation or technology advancements. They also have a lack of buy-in for their sustainability and electric vehicles moving forward. They've announced in the past releases of vehicles that have been either hybrid or electric to some extent. However, for whatever reasons, these vehicles have never come to fruition. And this kind of puts a sour taste in the mouth of the consumers who are anxious and want to see Ford really putting significant investments behind this movement and getting them the products that they want. Some of the opportunities that Ford has at their disposal is their manufacturing plants. As I mentioned earlier, Ford has a huge first mover advantage and runs an extremely lean and has very good processes when it comes to manufacturing. I think this can be an opportunity for them moving forward with their alternate fuel vehicles moving forward. I believe minor tweaks in manufacturing plants, because they already have the capital and infrastructure in place, could allow them to um, have significant margins when implementing these new vehicles. As I mentioned earlier, Ford is a global and international brand. They have a large and even growing customer base. Countries such as India and China provide huge potential and new consumers. These economies and countries as well have a different approach to transportation than do Americans. Their vehicles are typically smaller, their distances from work to retail to shopping are a lot shorter. This allows for the vehicles to be smaller and allows Ford to experiment with their perhaps all electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, which also allows the market to determine whether or not there's a need for this and allows other markets to see Ford as making strides to enter into the alternate fuel vehicles. Another significant opportunity at the hands of Ford is their partnership with an artificial intelligence company called Argo. Argo is going to give them the ability to work on not only automation, but their self driving vehicles. Self driving vehicles can help consumers to select more fuel efficient routes, to utilize the brake and acceleration pedals more efficiently, and to really cut back on emissions moving forward. Some of the threats that Ford faces, as I mentioned earlier, was the competition is a very saturated market. Companies such as Tesla and Toyota and Lexus, with their hybrids and electric vehicles, are the first ones that come to mind whenever you're thinking of electronic vehicles. Even Chevy has electric vehicles, and they're more of a similar style automotive company with Ford. Another large threat is government regulations. With the more strict observance of emissions and fuel efficiency, Ford has a huge liability with the significant amounts of capital and vehicles that they have and just the processes in place now. Another threat is just their current status. As I mentioned earlier, Ford does not have any electric vehicles out at the moment, and so they're not seen as someone with a strong presence there and really needs to make significant strides in order for it to be seen by the consumers as someone they can look to for electric vehicles. Some of my recommendations would be to consider these emerging markets and developing countries and try and quickly move and implement smaller vehicles that are either electric or hybrid and capture that growing market that is available. Another thing that I mentioned for a recommendation is the production of eco-friendly vehicles. They do not offer any at the moment, and so the only way to go is up. The slightest increase in electric vehicles will allow them to be more of a competitor in the market. Last thing, as far as recommendation goes, that I would like to present is their partnerships with ride shares, possibly. I worked for Ford and they offered a shuttling service when your vehicle was being serviced. If they were to pair up with ride share companies, this could cut down on emissions and excess trips, and maybe even using vehicles that are more eco-friendly could help with their reputation in the market. I believe that Ford has very strong leadership, and they are aware of their customers' voice and are looking at the demands and needs of consumers moving forward. And so this provides them with opportunities to implement new vehicles and to increase their sustainability in order to generate more revenue streams and be profitable moving forward.